Ambassador. Well, with me now is Nineham from the Stop the War Coalition. Thank you very much for joining us. So, of course, the organisation, very high profile ahead of the campaign against Iraq. What's the position now?
Well, I mean, I think it almost beggars belief that less than 3 years after the last British troops came out of Iraq from the last disaster, that our politicians are being asked to consider another military intervention. I can't see that it's going to be any different in its result from the last time round, and so we're opposed very much to it.
What would you do about the Islamic State militants, though, who are causing chaos wherever they go, threatening the West, beheading hostages? Can they be left to act without the international community reacting?
No, but I mean, the idea that the only thing that anyone's able to do is to bomb Iraq again, is to kill more people in Iraq, is absurd. There are all sorts of things that could be done.
Like what?
Well, I mean, I think these things should be decided by people in the region, really, but humanitarian aid, massive investment for all the destruction that was caused last time round in Iraq would be a start. Maybe we should stop supplying weapons and selling weapons to the people who are arming ISIS, like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, all of whom are now apparently part of the coalition.
Well, I was going to say exactly that. I mean, they are part of this coalition that the US has been building. Does that make a difference to your perspective? That's different to last time around.
Well, it is different, and it's wildly contradictory and paradoxical, because, as I say, these are the countries that have been funding ISIS, that have built it up, that have partly created this monster, and now apparently they're switching sides. The idea that, you know, some of the most reactionary regimes in the region can form a coalition that gives credibility or legitimacy to more attacks is just crazy, and you know, this just makes the situation worse, in my opinion.
How does it make it worse? When you look at what has happened in Iraq, the airstrikes do seem to have stopped the movement of Islamic State, which we were getting catastrophic reports, weren't we, regularly of what was going on as they were moving very quickly through the country. That does seem to have ended.
Well, we were getting catastrophic reports about what might have happened in Libya before we started bombing. But the reality is, of all these interventions, the reality in Afghanistan, in Iraq last time, and in Libya, is that bombing kills innocent people, massively increases the bitterness and anger people feel against the West, fragments countries, and actually inflames violence. I mean, look at the record on Libya. After the intervention, tens of thousands of Libyan people were killed, and now we have a failed state. Is that where we want to go with Iraq?
But do our hands have to be tied because of the past?
If we don't learn from history, we'll just repeat it endlessly. You know, we're in a cycle of violence here. In Afghanistan, we were told the operation would deal with the Taliban from 2001. Now, what is it, 2014, 13 years later. Taliban are stronger probably than they were in 2001, and the country's in a much worse state. We have to be realistic and learn the lessons from the interventions we've already been involved in. It would be crazy not to.
What message does it send out, though, if we say, OK, we're not going to do that sort of thing again because we did it before, and we'll just hold back?
Well, it would be the triumph of reason.
But it gives people impunity to do whatever they want, doesn't it?
No, but I mean, if we just say, look, everyone agrees the Iraq occupation was a complete catastrophe. If we're saying to the world, we're going to do more of the same as a way of trying to deal with the situation that we ourselves have created, what message does that send around the world?
When we look at what happened in Syria, there was a push towards intervention last year. It was halted because of what happened in Parliament here. Maybe that wasn't the right decision. Maybe we wouldn't be where we are now if that action had gone ahead then.
Well, who knows? But I mean, the reality of the situation is we did manage to stop the politicians getting us involved in another bombing in Syria. I think that was a good thing, and I think actually what we saw is that for the first time on these issues, public opinion was being listened to by the politicians. And what I'm worried about is on Friday that they're going to ignore public opinion again, just as they did over Iraq. This will be a disaster, apart from anything else, for the democratic process in this country.
But didn't it let Bashar al-Assad off the hook to carry on doing what he was doing? And strangely, we're now in a situation where we're potentially on his side.
But all the evidence shows, well, that's another example of the cynicism and kind of chaos of Western foreign policy. But I mean, all the evidence shows that if you get involved in these wars from the West, you end up inflaming the situation and increasing the level of violence. That's the truth. And to be honest with you, you talk as if, or people talk as if somehow we have the right to be intervening in Syria to decide that Assad shouldn't be the president. The truth is that is illegal. We're not allowed to be involved in wars for regime change. And, you know, this shouldn't be happening. and there's no UN cover for it apart from anything else. And as I say, the truth is that these wars have ended in terrible outcomes so far. The idea that we need to get involved in another one, I think actually they're underestimating the level of opposition there'll be.
What the government is talking about at the moment is just airstrikes against Iraq, and the president there has requested that sort of assistance. Would you be prepared to accept that? And if not, will we see big Stop the War coalition marches again as we did before?
Well, no, of course we won't be prepared to support that, because it is still an intervention. It may be that a politician has invited Britain to come in, but we're against these foreign wars, and I think we have all evidence on our side, and we do appear to have public opinion on our side this time round again. ISIS is clearly a deeply reactionary force. Our worry, apart from the misery and carnage that bombing will cause, is that actually getting involved in this kind of bombing will strengthen ISIS. It will increase the level of conflict and the level of fragmentation in the country. So we'll be protesting tomorrow night, actually. We'll be starting our protest tomorrow night outside Downing Street to try and influence the vote.
Thank you very much. Chris Nineham from Stop the War Coalition. Thank you.